All right. Welcome, ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones. And we are at book 15 of the Tale Behind the Weird Tales series. And this book is called A Cat in a Dog's World. And my mug is very fitting. Unintentional, maybe subconscious, who knows? I just realized that. All right. So, A Cat in a Dog's World. Now this book is really, really cool in the fact that there is a pop of color. It is for a autistic girly pop named Josie. And so, yeah, Josie and the Pussycats, I kind of love that connection as well. But I don't know if you'll be able to see on here. I know online you'll be able to tell if you go to my website and stuff, but it has graphics for coloring. It's a coloring book on top of a story, and that goes into quite a bit of the symbolism behind the stories. The story was inspired by a situation that occurred, and it was this understanding of like, why are you making fun of this little girl for being like different? It was a situation that happened at school. This little boy was making fun of her for how she was running, and she was in last place. And I was like, she still participated. Not everyone's going to be fast, you know. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. Someone is going to be in first and someone's going to be in last, especially in this like hierarchical system. And I don't think it should necessarily always be like a negative thing. Sometimes you're not the fastest runner, but you have other strengths. And so hearing this story and working through a lot of the heartbreak that came from it, from Miss Josie, it was devastating to me. And she's another little girl that I've worked with that just really, what's the fuck? Inspired me, impacted me, left an imprint on my heart. I don't know what I'm fucking trying to say, but she is a beautiful, wonderful person, soul, being, spirit, essence. Like, I just don't understand a lot of people's issue with people who have different experiences in life. And I know this is a growth from my with disabled people, children, all of the above, people who have different ways of being. And that's something that OT like really taught me, is that everyone has their own way of operating, and it's finding the most aligned way to work for yourself. Make life work for you. Don't change yourself to work for life. And I feel like that's what like astrology teaches. I love the correlation between astrology and occupational therapy, is that everybody is a unique flower, snowflake, a fingerprint, their own individual being with very specific combinations of energies, expressions, personalities, emotions, and all of the above, right? And so it's kind of also like there's a famous like meme. I think it's a meme, but I also think it was like in like a book somewhere, but it has all these different animals, right? It has a monkey, a fish, a giraffe, like an elephant, a tiger. And it's telling everyone, it's like, okay, climb the tree. And it's the whole point of like our standardized system doesn't like, yeah, of course the monkey is gonna have an easier time climbing the tree versus like the fish. Like people, you have to honor people in their environments and their strengths. And I think that goes for people. And I've often said, like everyone's just a different kind of flower or a different kind of plant. Different plants require different things. Like everything requires different things. Different dogs require different things. A lab, like all dogs need like a similar foundation of things. But German Shepherds need something that are different than labs. Cats have different requirements than dogs. And I say that as little Miss Gingy is coming out here. Hi, Miss Hazel. If you want a lap, it's available. I have your blanket there, but she's upset that the computer's in the way. Anyway, so people have been saying this for years, right? Like you have to honor people where they're at, and not everyone, like everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. So I don't know why we're still like in human evolution, why we're still having situations in schools where especially boys are attacking young girls, but the more advanced, like the early bloomers are attacking the late bloomers, or whatever the situation is. Like this weird like competition that is within our society is so fucking gross. It's disgusting. Like, who cares if she got last place, a field day? She still ran. That's like huge in itself, especially if you know Josie and like the situation of everything. And so I just I didn't want her, like, it made her really aware of her disability and her differences in life, and I didn't want her to be othered. As someone who's been othered for a variety of different reasons, I most definitely did not want this sweet little angel to be othered and feel insecure and have such hits on her self-esteem. And I understand, like, these experiences help us grow and build a strong sense of self-esteem. And that's if you have a good support system. But if Josie didn't have me or well, her mother first, her mom is wonderful. Her mother is just, she's a really good mom who really loves her daughter and really, really cares. I can't say enough beautiful things about her mom. But then she, she has a therapist who genuinely sees her and genuinely cares. And like, part of why I wrote this story for her is I wanted her to remember you're a cat in a dog's world. Be a cat. Don't let the dogs make you be a dog. If you're not a dog, don't be a dog. If you're not a cat, don't be a cat. Right? I was gonna say something that might upset people. So anyway, be who you are. That is like the gist of it. So the story kind of replicates that experience that Josie had told me about, and it ties into a lot of like autistic themes and children with disabilities, and anyone who feels different. It's like how I want people to carry with them this remembrance, this awareness that I am who I am, and if I'm not operating the way that you want me to operate, it's most likely because we're different, not because I'm not meeting my requirements or my standards. You know, Bayless eats what he's supposed to eat. Hazel eats what she's supposed to eat. I don't expect her to eat dog food, and I don't expect him to eat cat food, even though if they can, depending on what it is. Just because you can adapt doesn't necessarily mean you have to. There's nothing wrong with like executing your will onto the world and society and respectfully requesting or commanding that your personal individual needs be met for the individual that you are. Now, I do think that there are boundaries that come with it. We all have to compromise. I like the word collaborate more than compromise, but we all kind of, there's trade-offs to everything. There's give and take to everything. So like we had, I don't know if you saw the Ginge, Miss Hazel, but cats and dogs can live together in a home harmoniously. Animals can live harmoniously all the time. Human beings really fucking struggle with that. It's annoying. It's obnoxious. Right now it's 2026. When are we gonna grow up? I feel like I've been screaming this for a very long time. These were things I witnessed as a child that I just couldn't believe that we were like, when I feel like this has been going on for thousands of years. I mean, human history is full of wars fought over religion and things that we don't even know are true. And that gets into like religious war and indoctrination and like the one truth. The one truth that we have is that we're gonna die. And if we're going to die, we might as well be who we are instead of trying to change who we are to race to this finish line of idealism or perfectionism that we don't even know is true. And we can agree like, hey, certain characteristics, attributes, morals, values, like it could be a foundation, like, hey, everybody love everybody, or in the sense that like love thy neighbor, just be respectful of those who are separate of you. I think that there's a line, and I feel like we cross it all the time in society. And so That's what I wanted the story. I wanted it to remind Josie that no matter how different others make her feel, she should always have that security and groundedness within herself to be who she is, and that there is a purpose behind why she manifested the way that she has, for her own soul's growth, but also for the soul growth, the collective growth of humanity. And I firmly, firmly believe in that. And I could argue that that's why we have such an increased awareness of disabilities. That's been like a common discussion. And I think it's because we're coming to this understanding that you can't force everybody to live and operate in the same way. And there needs to be room for type A, type B, type C people and all of the above. But you also have to be able to, again, trade-offs. You have to be able to give and take. And we have to come to this collaboration of coexistence on some level. And so it's okay to be a cat in a dog's world, but that doesn't mean you become a dog, and that doesn't mean the dogs force you or genocide you or any of the above. And it's also, you could correlate it to anything. It's okay to be an ethnicity, a culture, a race, a gender, a sexuality, a spiritual religion, whatever it is, as long as you are being respectful and not harming others, there's nothing wrong with who you are and what you're planning on doing with your life. So having that sense of security within yourself, I feel like is super important. And I think that if you have that within yourself, and if it's developed in a foundation within your inner child, I feel like that generates change for adulthood and the collective. And I could argue all day long that a big part of what's happening in the world, that has been happening in the world, is wounded spirits, wounded soul children enslaved into this idea that they have to be something or someone other than who they are, instead of being respected for their strengths in this world. And that's also part of why I liked to keep it a coloring book. Not only does Miss Josie love coloring, and that was something very special for her, but this idea that what I like about a coloring book is, there are people who will be like, oh, well, I made the tree brown and green because trees are brown and green. But then every now and then, especially with like autistic kiddos and abstract kiddos, you'll see like, oh, I colored the tree yellow and orange because I like yellow and orange. And like, they kind of push the boundary of like, things don't have to be this way. They can be different. And now, no, maybe the tree is always going to have brown bark, but hey, you never know of what could occur within nature that it shifts its color. It could also be our eyes, our perspective. You take psychedelics and you start to see that certain things aren't the same color. Bees don't see things the same way. Birds don't see things the same way. Dogs don't see things the same way. So it's okay to express your vision and experience of the world to others safely without being belittled or shamed or demonized or any of the above. So yeah, that's something I really wanted her to have within herself, and as a lesson to the world, that we can all be who we are, that there's room for every type of species and way of being, as long as it's not collectively. And, we all have our defenses. Again, I've talked about like there is obviously a food chain and a this and a that, but as humans, there is no need for us to be predators to one another. And we can coexist and accept people in their diversity. Diversity is beautiful. And that's, again, like autism, the symbol of it being puzzle, piece, and a rainbow is because every soul has a role, every puzzle piece has a purpose, and it creates the full spectrum of the human experience of life, of emotion, of existence. So that's the story behind A Cat in a Dog's World. And I'll read the dedication. Dedicate this tale to Josie, a wonderful young lady that I've been blessed to meet. Excuse me. A human who teaches me more each and every week. Josie, it has been an honor to know you and experience your inner world. May you find peace and love with who it is you were born to be. May you always find the courage and strength to follow your heart. And may you radiate confidence in living life to the beat of your own drum. The voice of strangers will never compare to the voice of your soul. Remember to always speak to yourself in kind. With love, Miss Sarah. And I think that part of the dedication, part of the story, and part of the message behind this creation is reminding ourselves that you can't control other people, you can't control the outside noise, but you can control your inner voice, and you can meet yourself with genuine, accountable love. And accountable, I would argue, is unconditional. Um, and that's a whole other lesson in itself. But meet yourself with genuine, honest, truthful love for yourself. Be aware of your weaknesses. Be aware of where you can grow, but honor yourself and your presence, your present moment, your existence, your way of manifesting, of existing, right? So with that, thanks for listening to the tale behind the weird tale. That is the story behind A Cat in a Dog's World.